Lock the door on him. Lock the door on him. Hood postman. Hood postman. Reporting live. Reporting live. This the hood postman, come and check the program. You ain't from the streets, this is something you should know, man. Running from police, got a grip the whip with both hands. Speeding down the interstate, please do not approach him. 40s in the fridge, got the caddy in the driveway. Get all out of my face, I don't wanna violate. Looked up in the mirror and I told myself, why wait? We took this shit worldwide, you only in 5 states. Came from the four corners with my 4 quarters. Showed them the style, then they stole on us. Times got wild, then they told on us. Dog, it was hard, but we had to keep it rolling. You ain't gotta ask, you know where to find me. I be in the back streets where it get grimy. It's just me and Mel, Rennie looking bride D. I be going hard till I'm in the 5 C's. Know the vibes. I'ma do it till I die. I ain't never switched sides, I ain't never had to tell a lie. Let's ride. Know the vibes. I'ma do it till I die. I ain't never switched sides, I ain't never told them no lie. Let's ride. Hood postman. 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 Hood postman.
Shout out to the Mailroom Nation. Shout out to the Mailroom Goons. I am Professor Melly Mill, the Hood Postman. This is not a glorification nor glamorization. This is an education. That's why we bring on these brothers such as my beloved brother, Ceasar. We're bringing him on today. First time on the Hood Postman. Welcome to the show, brother. Welcome to my platform. Welcome to my channel. Shout out to you and everything you got going on, brother. How's the brother?
Hey, the brother's doing well. Let me turn your volume up a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, now I can hear you a little better. Yeah, everything's good, brother. I don't have any serious complaints.
Man, you know, at this point at our age, Ceasar, it probably wouldn't go well if we did.
Nah.
Let me say this, man, on this thought-provoking Tuesday. It's thought-provoking Tuesday. It's raining out right now, but listen, serve no master but the master inside yourself. Once you master yourself, you are well on your way to unlock the door of untold potential. That's what we need to work with. Those untold potentials that just waiting for us to just get it, grab it, and just take a hold of it and just rip into life.
True indeed. I'll agree with that.
Man, I see you got that massive library sitting behind you. How many books? What's the latest book you read lately?
The one that I'm really on right now is I've been pushing this to everybody I can. It's called the 1619 Project. You familiar with that?
I'm not familiar with that one, but I am now. I'm gonna get on it. The 16. Yeah. I can only imagine what's in it. Talking about 1619.
Yeah, Google it. It's by this sister who she's a professor or was a professor at the University of North Carolina, I think Chapel Hill. And
Chapel Hill.
She actually won a Pulitzer Prize for that book, but it was a lot of controversy. I just got hip to it about 6 months ago, year ago, something like that. And I've been into it. And it's one of the, like with all the books that we've read and that we read, it's like, it's grabbed my attention and really broadened my knowledge about how this country's wealth was built and how in this country we have, I'm gonna say this, that we as a people have a short memory. In meaning that we don't realize, you know, how brutal and how devious and how intent some people are in keeping us at the bottom. And, you know, making sure that there's an obstacle after obstacle for us to achieve and become successful, and also just the obstacles that are in place that keep us divided and keep us not really what you were saying is you have to have this inside. You have to grow this knowledge inside of you, and then you can start making a change, and you're more aware of how your actions affect you and your loved ones and those around you.
A lot of people don't realize that their decision making not only impact their personal self, but the whole entire family unit. And this is what set us at such a deficit, even when you fall into those situations, those pitfalls, those pits, or stumble on them obstacles. We don't understand the level of deficit that we're going to fall into, and not only put ourselves into, the family. Because what I should have learned at 20, now I'm just grasping at 40 because I spent 10 years or 20 years incarcerated. Now I got to restart all that. And this is how the other people that's operating in the society, they surpass us, because we're constantly dealing with deficit, whether it's the drugs, the war on drugs, whether it's the mass incarceration. There are many things out there that's lying in wait for us, that place us. But I want to say this, that wisdom is the appropriate application for knowledge. And until you start grasping wisdom, because I always ask the Creator to increase me in wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and purify my heart, so I can be able to be in the appropriate state of mind to comprehend exactly what my ears are receiving. Because we don't know, there's a difference between hearing and listening, sight
And
and seeing.
exactly, I was just getting ready to say that we see a lot of things, but
Yeah,
we don't have any sight.
right. Exactly. So let me ask you this, Caesar, and I don't know if anybody ever, how did you get the name Caesar?
Um, uh, One of the brothers I grew up with, named Magoo, gave me that name, and at the time there was a movie out called Black Caesar.
Yes.
So I used to wear the Godfather hats and all of that. Always been a hat wearer and stuff. So I think it came from that. But a brother named Magoo gave me that name.
And such an appropriate name. And I always say this, Caesar, be careful of the names that you choose for oneself, because usually they identify with the character. Caesar, when I hear the word Caesar, it identifies with leadership, because Caesar was one of the great leaders of the Roman Empire, regardless how we feel about it, black or European or not. Still, that's neither here or there. He was a great leader of that Roman Empire, and that's what demonstrates leadership when you hear the name. So you get these guys that name themselves Crazy, Knucklehead, Dum Dum, or Shoot 'em Up, or Bang Bang. You got to know that that name is a characteristic of the individual that's giving you the name, because they're naming themselves as proxies.
Mhm. Well,
What's your thoughts on that?
in dealing with, like, when I was going through my thing with Pan-Africanism and all of that. Matter of fact, I had actually been involved and was in one of the study cadres of the All African People's Revolutionary Party.
Hmm.
So when you're involved in that, one of the things that we do is that we're choosing an African name. So I
Absolutely.
also have a name which is Adasa, which is one who makes his meaning clear. So that's also part of who I am. And when you think about how we're old enough to know that when we saw the brothers from the Nation of Islam or something coming around back in the day with the newspaper, and they were telling us, we had these slave names and all of that. For the most part, we wasn't trying to hear all that, and
No, but true to what they were saying, though,
man, a lot of truth in what they were saying. And
because when your name, that's why they gave you names in the African culture and the African spirituality. You always got names that was, if you had to rely on something, you would say your name because your name meant something. Your name would be like rocket fuel. It would empower you, inspire you to reach that plateau.
and it was a lot of consideration and everything given into the names in African culture. It wasn't just here, this and that, and putting 3 or 4 different people's names together to make up one name that the baby can't spell when he get to kindergarten or whatever, because it's so many letters and syllables and all of that. So,
Yeah, you have to be careful of that too.
yeah. So,
well, let me take a moment and shout out to chat room. Shout out to Marlene Wade, your Postmaster General. Shout out to PK. Shout out to Cynthia Nunn. She says hello to you,
hey,
Caesar, Benjamin Robinson. Everybody that's joining us. Armand, that dude. There you go. I see you, Terrell. What's going on with you, Stuart? What's going on, bro? And King Mike and everybody else that's joining the chat room. We here for a thought-provoking conversation with Mr. Caesar. You got to remember that Caesar, let me say this. Caesar is a testament. He's also a map. When I say map, because he transitioned from chain gang to family to grown man thinking. See, he evolved and he survived those situations. And you youngsters that's now listening and watching, you gotta take time out and watch individuals like him, because however he did that is a map to learn how to get to where he's at if you follow it.
Yeah, you have to believe in yourself, and then you also have to look at what is considered hard. You hard because you knocking people out, or you hard because you'll lay somebody down with your strap or something like that. But you don't have that same hardness when it comes to, well, I'm going to leave these streets. I'm going to take whatever job I got to take for the time being to raise my kids and keep my family together. I'm going to go back to trade tech or wherever. I'm going to get me a welding certificate, or I'm going to get into HVAC, or I may even want to go back to 4-year university to get a degree. So we have to be able to see far enough forward to believe in yourself and to invest in yourself. And I'm not saying everybody has to go get a college degree, but it's things, even the transportation industry, trucking, CDLs. I mean, dudes are eating very well. They call them
absolutely
CDLs out here.
I'm in the truck as we speak.
Yeah, people are, buying homes and doing things that they never thought possible through trucking, or learning trades like HVAC. You don't want to have to call the air conditioning people or the heating people to come and fix your heater or something like that. You better have a nice limit on your credit card or some cash in the bank or something. So
I'm glad you mentioned that, because not only do you be hard in the streets, you got to be hard in convincing that DA that you're innocent. So be hard both ways. Don't be hard one way, because when you get up in there, you got to be just as hard, twice as hard in convincing the people that you're innocent. Mm-hmm. So know that. Shout out to God's property. Caesar, you pointed out something right here. You talked about trades, right?
Yeah,
people, we got to realize now is a time where you want to get you a trade, because with this artificial dissemination and all these things that coming, the AI that's coming on board, they're going to wipe out a lot of jobs. But what the jobs they're not going to wipe out is what the robots can't do. And that's usually a trade.
And if you remember when we were going to school, I mean, I'm 66. So back when I was in high school and all that, they had automotive, electricity. I mean, you could take all these
Metal shop,
trades, come out
wood
of high
shop,
school and get a
print
job.
shop.
Yeah. And so they took all that stuff out of the schools, and
That's on purpose.
yeah. So those are things that we need to be advocating for to bring back into schools, because everybody's not going to college. So let's prepare these people for a trade that they can learn that will sustain them. They can grow, they can take care of a family on the money that they make doing these things. So that's important.
To understand where you come from to where you are today, how was it growing up in Inglewood? What was them first years? Because I'm 2 years under. You're 66. I'm 64. What was those first few years like, Ceasar, for you growing up, and everything that you had to go through to get to where you at today?
Well, it's kind of like when I moved to Inglewood, which my kind of I lived like all over. Back in like the 70s, my pops had bought a house in Thousand Oaks, California. So at that time in
That's a great
1970,
area.
yeah, but you could count the black people on one hand.
Yes.
So what was happening is that I call her my she's passed on, but she was like my mom, because I was living with my father when I was in California. So she lived on 74th between Main and Broadway. So it was like I was in Thousand Oaks sometimes, and then I was at her house most of the time. So my pops died in 73 when I was 16. And that's when I moved over to Inglewood with some friends of the family and stuff like that. So making that move and the shock of losing my father and all of that, and I was already in trouble all the time, getting high and doing all kind of other stuff. So I was on my way to transitioning into even more trouble. So, Inglewood, man, there I had a lot of fun. Met a lot of people that I considered family, and it was an experience. And then the whole gang thing kind of being introduced to that, because remember we had the only station we had was KGFJ, and it was like you would hear. And let me take that back, we did have KJLH too. I
Oh
think
yeah, that's true.
was in effect Leon the Lover on KJLH.
Right. Right.
The other brother he used to play, they called me Mr. Lucky when he came on and all that. So
Uh-huh.
back then, like KGFJ would give us a running battle. Okay, the Crips shot, this person, the Brims did this, the Pyru did this today. So that kind of thing, it was news back then.
At what point did you meet Nasty Ed?
73.
What was that like? I
I
heard a lot
mean,
about him.
we were, two cats. We wasn't going to school. We like to get drunk. We like to get high, and we were about that life. That's kind of my introduction to the chain gang, and the transition between the chain gang turning into the family for me was like a kind of short time frame.
Oh
So,
yeah, that's awesome. I know my experience was, I mean, because I had an experience because I had some, my people, CC, right?
mhm.
Off the 76 and Third Ave. She had a daughter named Tanisha, and Michael Hall, who's actually an Inglewood family. They used to call him L.A. But anyway, when I went over there, I met Trim and Bully and all those cats. But
Okay,
you know what? But they embraced me. I was like kind of nervous at first because there was a lot of them out there on 76 and 30. I mean, it was,
oh, yeah,
I don't know.
they all were like right there on 77th Street, the
Uh-huh.
next block over. That was like, I mean, just deep with you know, active youngsters from our neighborhood.
Right, right. And then PT is my partner, Donnie Williams. That's my partner,
Yes, sir.
PT. So yeah, I mean, they embrace me, and
Mhm.
shout out to Rod Dog and Green Eyes as well, which I met through Gerald Hunter, geek from City Stone. But
Oh,
anyway, so growing up, you Nasty Ed, who else was in your cadre at that time?
it's kind of you had the brothers that were kind of that started everything. You had older brothers like Petey Wheat, Wallace, Billy. You got Wes. You got Eddie, Magoo. I don't want to leave nobody out.
Yeah, but
Jan, so
Dan Brewer, definitely.
weren't a lot of us. It might have been 20 of us in the beginning, if that, and I always make the distinction between you have gang members and you have gang bangers. So your gang members may be around everything and are somewhat involved, but then you have your gang bangers, the dudes that are getting shot and going, back and forth to jail, and the dudes that the opposition, the enemy
Well,
know about, and we're all meeting each other in juvenile halls and YA and all that kind of stuff.
I just interviewed Baba Louie. Baba Louie explained it like this. He said, Melly Mel, there are 25% go-getters and 75% cheerleaders. That's how he described it.
Yeah,
And shout out to Baba Louie. Great interview I did with him just a few days ago. And I noticed you have a picture of you and Baba Louie and Terry Cadeau. What
yeah.
was the relationship through the family and the Brims and the Pyro?
Brims, the way back in the time that I was really doing my thing and active and all of that, it's like all of the neighborhoods that were opposed to the Crips were all kind of separated from each other.
Mm-hmm.
So the only way I never met Terry Godot when we were out there doing our thing. I met Terry Godot later on, when we're like 50 something years old or something like that. So back then, this was before everybody kind of came up under the what they call the blood umbrella and all of that, but you had
Uh-huh.
these different neighborhoods who are all entities of themselves, the Brims, the Piru, Denver Lane, Athens Park, Van Ness Gang, Blackstones, and a lot of those uh guys, they had a lot of territory. The West Side family that we called them, but there wasn't a lot of opposition to the Crips at that time. So
Mm-hmm.
we never really had that, the umbrella that came later on in the early 80s through the 80s where everybody was kind of getting together. But I did know like Angel from the Brims and brother named Junebug that I knew that was a Brim. I knew had been out on Piru Street, hung out with Puddin because he used to I met him through the ASD, the long table. That's where
Okay.
I met Angel as well.
Uh-huh.
And so I came out and hung out on Pyru Street some with Puddin and Ralph Carter, and hung out with them some. And that's how I met them. And then I think that may have been the beginning of us kind of linking up with different neighborhoods. And I know for us, we had some people that lived over in the Denver lanes that moved to Inglewood, who the lanes would all come to over there and visit them. So we developed a pretty solid relationship with the Denver lanes way back in the early 70s.
Yeah, I remember them used to be up at the Rose Can skating ring deep,
Volkswagens,
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of them rolled in the Volkswagens.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I remember then I remember Terry Cadeau, Winston Weaver, Paul Kelly, Pete Kelly, Doty, Tomahawk.
Mhm. Yeah, I
Uh,
remember a lot of the names, but I didn't
yeah,
meet a lot of those brothers.
right. Yeah, so yeah, they was they was out there, man. They chased us one night from the Hollywood Christmas parade.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we was a little bit out of our area too, you know what I mean, and not familiar with the terrain of the area.
Yeah.
So yeah, didn't realize they was, it was so many of them, But yeah, that was quite an experience back. The '70s was very different. What I will say about the '70s, those guys usually they if they had a beef with somebody, they took it to that individual. Later on, they just start doing anybody. But prior to that, it was always like individuals like we would meet up at a party and probably our best fighter fight their best fighter or something like that. It wasn't like a whole lot of people pulling out hand cannons and, blasting away on people or none of this stuff you see today. But when you look at today, what can we do for these kids, and is there any hope, or where do you see it going? It's 2023. It's definitely worse than when we was coming up because the
Yeah.
laws are more severe and everything.
Yeah, that's like a profound question, because I made a statement one time, and it's probably been 8 or 9 years since I made the statement, and I was like, if we started today, it's going to take us 50 to 100 years to get that mindset and that togetherness to be able to advance as a people. Actually, we're getting passed up by different groups and all of that, and then all of the neighborhoods that you could say we've lost in LA and different places where you could go from practically downtown all the way to Imperial or whatever and not see no white folks. It was all black people, populating and living in all of those areas. And now that's a lot different. But to your question, it's a thing of we have to grab them young, and we have to prepare an environment where our kids can realize that it's cool to be smarter. It's cool to be, have other interests. Don't just be a one-dimensional Negro. If everybody's sagging and doing dumb stuff, it doesn't mean you have to do it. And I think we mentioned this, is that there used to be a cutoff time for stupidity or whatever. And now it's like the 40-year-olds and the 18-year-olds are doing the same thing in a lot of places. So we have to take control of the education of our children. We have to create, safety and safe spaces for our children, the women that are raising the children. We have to be more intent about family. It's like you don't want to have a situation where you're in a conflict with somebody because they're the ones that are living with the woman that you might have had children with. So you're not there, and they may have to, implement some discipline or something like that. So we have to be intent about how we handle our sexuality and all of that in terms of having children that you're not going to take care of, or you're not going to do everything you can do to make sure that they get to the next level like our parents did back in the day. They were like,
Hands on.
I work hard because I don't want you to have to, do what I'm doing. And, they always gave us that saying that the only thing that those people can't take from you is your education. That was something I heard a lot growing up. So we have a whole spiritual dynamic that we have to get a hold of, that treating yourself well, treating the people around you well, trying to, keep your mind free from a lot of unnecessary clutter and negative influences. So we need that spiritual component back. We need our health. We need that. And we need to have a healthy respect for knowledge and knowledge of self, and not just what we're being fed by other people.
Shout out to 8-9 on up on me. Shout out to you. Do you think let me put it like this. There are no limitations unless we create them ourselves. Anything is possible, but you only limited to your own imagination. In other words, you can go wherever you want to go, be what you want to be, but you have to do the work. Do they fully understand that? Because that 1% of success is dreaming and 99% is doing. You think, do they fully grasp that as youngsters, or do they think that we're the money trees and we should just give them and take care of their bills, buy them cars, because these kids, they're different from us, Ceasar?
Yeah, I think that what I try to tell youngsters or something when I come in contact with them is that time is either your friend or it's your enemy. So when you're young, time is your friend, and that's your time to develop yourself, invest in yourself, and you have to look down the road. Okay, if I take time out, if I take 2 or 3 years, I'm 19 years old or something, I can go. It might take me 2 years to get this degree in forensic technology or something like that. Or a sister could say, well, it might take me 2 years to get my first nursing license or whatever. Might take me 4 to get my RN or whatever the different levels are. So when we can get them to think in those terms, and also what I try to do is to get them on a path of having a good financial literacy. I think that is something that is terribly important.
Yeah, I think that, because for some reason, they didn't teach us banking, financial literacy, investment. They didn't teach us none of that in school.
Yeah.
But yet it was part of the importance of becoming that entrepreneurship and advancing in society, because the wealth of this country has always been determined by the property you own. But they didn't teach us how to purchase property. You know,
Right.
they, they
The
veered
other,
away from there.
excuse me, the other people were learning how to do that, but
Yeah.
we weren't learning how to do it in our community
Yes.
on a mass scale. But when we think about it, it was a lot of our folks that actually owned property and owned houses and things like that, but they couldn't get banks to let them draw equity out or something like that to go buy another house or to, flip a house or something like that. So that's something that they address in that 1619 project as well, is how
Mhm.
we were redlined out of certain communities, how banks wouldn't give us loans to get houses unless they were in certain excuse
Certain
me,
areas.
certain areas and things like that. So the whole banking system and the real estate, that's the beauty of that 1619, is that it kind of lays all that out for you so that you can see how widespread and how devious that, a lot of these people that were controlling wealth and had the means to do these things were taking advantage of us not being able to do some of those things. And it's something that I saw that King actually enlightened me on. I was looking at one of his speeches, how he was showing how they had these little homestead acts and all this, and how they
Uh-huh.
gave all these folks this money and, no interest loans and all of that.
Uh-huh.
And we couldn't get none of that. And when you think about how far we have come from where we had to come from, and you think about it and you really, look at the scope of how evil it was, is that we got freed, so-called freed from slavery, but man, we ain't had no shoes on. Some of us barely had a little knapsack on, no roof over your head.
Yeah, it was definitely arcade and draconian laws that put us even further in depression and out of the deficit, based on how they was the vagrants and the different codes that they were putting together as far as what was lawful and what was unlawful. But let me say this, Kiva Boat, man, I just gave you a moderator, man. Shout out to you for being a moderator, brother. I appreciate it. But I'm gonna ask you your questions, Kiva, because here's what I think, man. You guys super chat your questions sometime. But anyway, this one's to you, Seaver. Kiva wants to know what made little Caesar join the Crips and opposed him.
You mean what made me become a family?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, well, my the people that I grew up with at Bethune, they all went to Bethune, and this is back in like the early 60s, and it was like you start hearing about this thing called the Crips, and we're coming out of a movement of, when the Black Panthers, and they was having shootouts, and they were like our heroes and stuff back in the day, because they were like fighting the power for real. So here we come with this the thing what we're calling the Crips, and so now they're getting a reputation for taking people's leather coats and
Uh-huh.
turning out parties and beating people up. And I guess,
This being an outright nuisance.
yeah, it's like a gang of bullies. So I never liked a bully. I'm uh I remember in elementary school, I tried to take up for this girl one time with the school bully and ended up losing the fight. But at least I fought the bully back. But I never liked the whole bully thing. And then I still had a knowing about the Panthers, and even then I read a lot. So kind of understanding what they were dealing with and where they were going with what they wanted to do, but not fully understanding the powers that be that were so happy that now we're gang banging. Now we're fighting each other. Now we have more numbers than the Black Panthers had at the time. And now we've kind of pushed that to the background, and it gave the what the prison industrial complex or whatever, and the war machine, the ammunition that they needed to, go in and infiltrate and destroy a lot of those groups that were trying to educate us and empower us to become more unified.
At what point did the prison industrial complex, did you see it even taking a greater chunk out your community? Because it was like, because remember in the early 70s, the laws was kind of relaxed.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of cats that were, even because we was hanging out the park, I remember the park patrol. I just talked to a park patrol just yesterday, and he reminded me of when the park patrols used to just run up in the park and, and kind of run you off or whatever. But then soon after, we overwhelmed the park patrol. And that's when the authorities start stepping up their game as far as what was happening,
Mm-hmm. And I think when a lot of things change, we don't realize
that. The lights out.
Let's take California, for instance. When we were coming up, you had the Ceasar program. There were all kind of, avenues for parks and recs, and you could go get
WLCAC,
football
theater.
Yeah, all of those things.
Team posts.
And so when Reagan got elected, one of the things that he did is he wiped all of that stuff out, and
with one swipe of his pen, it was gone.
He wiped all of that out. So that was beginning of all of that. And then when it really took hold was in the late 80s, early 90s, when the feds got involved in this, and they were just grabbing people up, and building prisons like they were going out of style and stuff. And so that really kind of helped solidify that. And then when you think about that, a lot of these prisons, especially in the feds, they had a unicorn. So, I know we were making like starters and different things for the tanks, and dudes were making parachutes. And then Petersburg, I think they used to make these cables for the aircraft carriers, things that they hook up to the jets or whatever, that the jets pull off and the cable comes out and the jets fly off. So we were doing a whole lot of work for little or nothing, that you come out of there, you can't even sniff the front door of some of the places that might be have that kind of work.
That's true. I remember I was a clerk in Unicorn, man, and I was blown away. The government was selling brooms. Well, the government was buying brooms from their sales, $10 brooms. They was paying $150. Robbing Peter to pay Paul, or they was fudging. I don't know, because they print their own money. Of course, the money system is being abolished as far as it is the gold standard. But I was trying to figure, because I was a clerk in Unicorn, right? And then when I realized that they was selling $10 brooms back to themselves for $150, I'm like, what is the meaning of all this? I started getting curious, so I started looking at a lot of bill of ladings and different everything, the lockers, the uniforms, everything was marked up,
Yeah, the
way
art
up.
keys and all of that. And I think one of the spots I was at, we did optics. They did optics, and they were making the glasses for all of the federal employees they could get their glasses free. So they were making glasses,
Yo, they made my glasses.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You get your
8-9,
glasses,
what niche you talking about, 8-9? Sorry about this, Caesar.
no problem.
Somebody asked me a question. Sorry about that. It was a lot, man. That was some interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Caesar, did you ever read that book by William Milton Cooper called Behold a Pale Horse?
Nah, I skimmed through it and read bits and pieces of it, but I never sat down and read the book from cover to cover.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that was a very interesting book because he
Yeah,
like
that's
exposed
flat.
a lot of government stuff that later on. Yeah. That's my niece, Barla. That's funny. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. But that's very interesting stuff. Even the Committee 300 and all these different Carlisle Group and Secret Society of Bilderbergers and all these different things, that think tanks that they have around this country and around this world, actually, that we just not up on. You know what I mean? They think 10 and 20 years down the road, and we be right here, but they already 10 years down the road beyond us.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's hard
They
for
got,
us to catch up with that.
yeah, the 10, 20, 30, and 40-year plan. The 10-year plan is for them 10 years from now. The 40-year plan is for their children. And that's why, like we would talked about earlier, is that you have to be willing to invest in yourself and use your time wisely while it's still your friend.
Uh-huh. At what point did you take up martial arts and add it to how you defend yourself? Because the streets was treacherous out there during that time. So I know a lot of cats in our area, the 70s. Like I even got, that was a cat name. His name is Robert Banks. He was part of the SLA, Seminolese Liberation Army, and he taught me judo. He taught me wrestling. He taught me kempo and taekwondo. He just taught me a lot of different styles and stuff. Mix and it really came in handy.
Yeah.
As I begin to grow and to try to test my metal against other metal. So yeah, I lost a few, but I won a lot too. But
Yeah,
anyway.
I've been doing that probably for the last almost 45 years or so. So really, I'd always been interested in it, but I really didn't get serious about it until I moved to North Carolina. And I ended up meeting my Sifu and training with him and doing his style. And then what I learned and where it helped me is that it gave me a deeper respect for culture, because in the kung fu is passed down like through a paternal type system. We have the your Qigong, your Sifu, your seed eye, your toad eye, and all that. And it's more of a family type structure than a belt system.
Uh-huh.
So, in learning and seeing how their culture was tied into their martial art, and that they actually were using a lot of this at one time, these swords and all of this, because warfare it wasn't for the weak at heart at one time. All you had was your sword or your spear and your shield or something, and it's mano a mano, whoever one of us not leaving alive, kind of thing. So
Right, right,
that
right.
helped, it helped really get my temperament at a good spot, and it gave me a release, because leaving out of Cali, and moving to the Carolinas, it's like I'm suffering from PTSD. So every time a car pulls up, I'm
Yeah,
turning
you on
around
the
and looking
swivel.
to
You on
see
the
what's
swivel.
up. Yeah, so just getting past all of that was it really helped me to grow.
Right. That's cool, man. That's interesting. How is it down in North Carolina?
Oh man, I can't really complain, and it's like everywhere else, that racism is there, but I mean we're doing good down here in the Carolinas. I mean,
Right.
I live in a nice home, it's valued over 400,000 or whatever. So what I have here would be worth $1.5 million in Cali.
Yes.
We're at almost 3,000 square feet. In the community that I live in, we actually have like on one side you have like $600,000-700,000 homes, which here, and you transfer that to Cali, you talking 2 million or something like that.
Absolutely.
And my community is probably 80% Black. So we're
Oh, awesome.
doing good. Yeah.
That's
Those
great.
of us that have prepared ourselves, and those of us who um are, seeking a better life and all of that, we're doing well. But just like everywhere else where we're at, we have a large segment of us that aren't doing well. But in terms of cost of living and some of those things, it's not a bad place to be. And it's like,
Shout out to Pastor Jack, my homie right there.
okay, I tell a lot of people that for, let's say you have a house in Cali that you could sell for 1.5 million or something like that. You could take
Uh-huh.
500,000 of that and come down here and buy you a 4,000 square foot home built from the ground up and have 1 million stacked. So there's opportunities here, and there are a lot of people moving here where I'm at in Charlotte from all over, Cali, New York, some of these places that excuse me, they're tired of the blizzards and all of that and trying to get somewhere where the weather is a little more stable. So it's not a bad place to be.
Do you
So,
miss LA any? You miss Inglewood any?
oh, I miss California, but I was there in January. I'm a cyclist. I do the road bike cycling, with
Uh-huh.
funny helmets and the tight clothes and all of that. But that's something that's growing among our people. I mean, we have some large cycling clubs here in Charlotte, but we had a event that was in LA, out in Long Beach. I was in Long Beach. We rode I think the first day we went 53 miles, and the second day I think we did about 25 miles. We rode to the that Korean Bell. I'm looking at that question. Inside Inglewood was the family car, man. You know, I can't really answer that question because right when I transitioned out of gang banging, it was really the Inglewood family in Inglewood, and that was pretty much that. And all those other neighborhoods developed later. So one thing I know about when you get on these platforms is don't get extra out and don't
No.
answer things that you don't have an answer for, So
Yeah.
I
Beyond your circle of knowledge.
yeah,
Yeah.
because so I wouldn't know how those brothers felt at that time.
Right. What's your relationship with Jimmy at this time? You spoke on to Jimmy?
Yeah, he was out here. He has a daughter here,
Uh-huh.
lives in Asheville, North Carolina, and Jimmy was out here maybe 3 months ago. So I had a chance to sit down. We sat down and got to chop it up for a little while. And so he's doing well. I mean, he I believe is doing some more stuff with books.
Uh-huh.
And he has an organization, I think the Trope organization.
Right, right. Did you know Bobby Lavender?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
Just heard of him. And
Yeah,
that's
Bobby Lavender was another guy. He was good with the arts.
yeah, they actually their teacher lives here in North Carolina now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the brother who taught all of them lives in North Carolina now.
Okay. Yeah, he was real active in it,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
And a lot of those
go ahead.
guys from the West Side family or Hoover family, they call them Shaft, and some of those brothers were all into that. And then you had the BKF was real active back in those days as well.
Uh-huh. So there's what's going guy. He says a lot of G homies have moved to Charlotte.
Okay. I've met a couple, but I haven't met a lot. I had a partner here that was Swan. Another brother that I know. I don't think he was necessarily affiliated, but I've met a couple people here that were from Cali and may have had some affiliation and everything.
What are some of the affiliations down in North Carolina? Because I know this thing we know as the gang bangers spread it among all out across the United States and many different series and states.
Down here, I would say it's probably a lot of people that claim Bloods. Then different places in Carolina, it may be Crips or what have you, but it's different. They aren't really divided by neighborhood or whatever like we were back in the day.
Got it.
So they're here, and I guess they're active. I don't know. It's nothing like what we've experienced, in California as far as deaths and all of that. And I just say that and knock on wood and hope that it doesn't ever gravitate to that point. But I think that it's not just the gang thing, it's just a whole culture that we have now all the way across the United States to where Black life isn't valued. It's like nobody, or I won't say nobody, but we don't have a lot of people that can think things through, and it's like we got a bunch of emotional type gangsters and stuff out there that every situation got to be settled with a gun or something like that, and it makes us look bad to other cultures that why are they doing this to each other, and people look at us and they can see the strength that we have, and they they just look like, wow, if they were ever to wake up, and if they would just stop doing some of the things that they're doing to each other, then it would be a lot better. How I think about it sometime that like with Asians or something like that, at least the ones I know, or the East Indians and all of that, they don't have no baby mamas. I mean, they marry their women, they establish their family, and
Right.
that's it. You know, they're raising
Right.
their family and all of that. And it's not like, you know, I've got a 2 by her and 2 by her and 1 by her. It makes it hard if you really want to be in your children's life
Right.
to be able to divide your time between, you know, the different spaces, and some people not even wanting you in your children's lives. So
Right.
that hurts us.
It does. It does. Really, it do. I tell people all the time, the streets died when everybody got on the internet. Now you got these kids up in blowers on the internet, DPing, watching the homegirls fight on the internet, DPing, put-ons and put-offs on everything they do is on the internet. And shout out to Jack Santana, Big Jack Santana.
Yeah,
He's
greetings,
speaking
Jack.
wisdom.
Yeah,
You know, yeah,
greetings, Jack.
yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah,
We
right on.
communicate. Yeah.
And they're doing some things that's unprecedented in regards to what this thing we call game bang is, you know. So everything is done on the internet, so that puts you in a vulnerable space, because now they don't. Back in the 70s, Caesar, the police really had to do some work to figure out who was who and what was what,
Mm-hmm.
because we didn't do no talking. We wasn't going around.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, they just look on the internet and figure, okay, Pookie, Ray, John, and Lil
Mm-hmm.
Mo. Okay, we got to get them because they ran into.
There's the gun they use
Yeah,
right
yeah,
there. So
uh-huh,
yeah,
yeah,
it's you know, if you're doing dirt, you got no business on the internet.
uh-huh,
Yeah, I
yeah.
was
So
saying if you're doing dirt, you don't have no business on the internet
none whatsoever.
broadcasting.
Period.
Yeah.
I just was seeing down there they had a fight down at the CCB courthouse, you know, and then I saw where the other youngsters were pulling up on people's boulevards, jumping all out and hollering whatever they hollering, but they all on camera doing it. You know, it's just outrageous.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's like, you know, we're a long way from a lot of things. Yeah, I knew Reggie Theus, because I see the question Reggie, and it's another brother. His name was what was it? He was a Scarborough, and Reggie and him both ended up at UNLV. Kim Scarborough.
The running rebels, huh?
Yeah, they were both went to UNLV. So yeah, Reggie Theus lived right across the street from the Jacksons. Some of the Jacksons. You had 2 Jackson families on that Second Avenue right there.
Awesome. Well, Caesar, we've been on here an hour. I don't want to keep you because I want to bring you back. I don't. I want to be
Okay.
make you a regular staple on the Hood Postman show.
Okay.
So if we can, you know, get you impart wisdom.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, we've all met each other through the whole Kev Mack thing. So
Uh-huh.
we always had to give Kev props, because he kind of gave all of us a platform and opportunity to get out here and spread some wisdom, if that's what we want to do. So
Absolutely.
I think that, you know, just keep it positive, keep doing what you're doing, and yeah, I'd be glad to come back through at some point in time.
Awesome, man. Once again, this is not a glorification. Glamorization is the education. You can go anywhere in the world to catch a lie, but you come right here to get the truth. And today we had Ceasar of the Inglewood Generals, one of Inglewood's finest, imparting truth and wisdom upon us. So we appreciate you, young brother.
All
Keep
right.
on, man. Keep on cycling and keep
Yeah.
on with the arts.
Yes, sir.
It's gonna keep you young.
I'm trying to fight the Grim Reaper off.
Salute to you, Caesar. We'll talk soon. Appreciate you.
All
Thank
right.
you. All right. Yeah, shout out to Caesar, man. Such a great person. Real knowledgeable, has wisdom, and just laid back. You know, you can't help but to appreciate who he is as a man and how he just comes on and just, you know, share his experiences, you know, share his experiences, and we be able to sit down and listen and just take in what he's saying. You know, it don't have to always be about, you know, who beat up who or who jumped on who. It don't, you know, I know sometimes we like to hear that stuff, but, you know, it's more to us than that. You know, we're not a monolithic people. We got more to offer, more things to do, and we can't dwell in, how can I put it? And I'm going to talk about this tomorrow. I'm not going to spoil it right now. I'll talk about it tomorrow. But anyway, I am Professor Melly Mel, the Hood Postman. Shout out to Marlena Williams, Jim Banks, and Eric Devon Cutmore, and Eric Michelle. Thank you for jumping in. 89, leave me a message over at the Hood Postman on my Instagram, and we'll talk soon, bro. I'll talk soon with you. And shout out to Ace, too. Kiva Bolton, new moderator on the show. Aldridge, as always, he's there. Jack McFarland, my guy. Jack Santana, the pastor. Big Jack, Pastor Jack. What's good, brother? And the ghost, Eugene Flanagan, everybody that came on and just shared in this cavalcade of conversation and got something out of it. I appreciate you. I am Professor Melly Mel, the Hood Postman. And man, you know the vibe. I ain't said that in a while. Be sure to click the notification bell, like, subscribe, and share. Drop a comment down below. So when the dope content hit, it's going to feel like it's the first in the 15th.
To hear something like that would happen on a Sunday afternoon.
Well, when you dealing with different hoods, what do you expect? Because it's the weekend, and I don't know. I can't speak for everybody else, but I'm from Santana Block Crips, so it's gonna do what it do.
Spartans! What is your profession? See, old friend, I brought more soldiers than you did.
Proof of grind all the time, baby.
Yeah. Cali finest, baby. Proof of grind all the time. Music money. Got a dollar sign. Hub City. I'm a street nigga. Streets fuck with me. I'ma keep pushing products till the fans get me. It's guap off top. Diamond Cartier. That nigga wall won't give a broke bitch the time of day. They see me climbing. They see me shining. That's hard work. Proof of grinding. New money got me tipping in that 550. I leave bad man and I'm so pretty. I got that tech with me. That's my hater sprayer. Go big, grind now, nigga, play later. What can I say? I'm addicted to this paper stacking, and I don't talk about it. I just make it happen. Word on the block is that my shit go. Bricks for the low.
Marlena Williams, go ahead and lock the door, because we are gone.